Okay, still working on the 5.3 engine for the Chevelle LS Turbo project, and in this video we're going to be slapping on a new timing chain set, the oil pump, centering up the oil pump, and the timing cover. Okay, time to put the camshaft retainer plate in, and it's this part right here, and notice this orange part here is a seal, and I decided to buy a new one. So it's the Moly B31822. I'll drop a link below. And the reason we're replacing this is because my old one, if you look here, that seal is just totally smashed. Okay, so it's not going to do a good job. This one's obviously raised a little bit, so it's going to seal. So basically what happens is oil flows from here across, you know, one way or another. I don't know which way it flows, but anyway, you just want to seal that off so you don't lose oil pressure. Now these bolts here, it appeared that there was Loctite prior, so we'll be using Loctite 242 blue, which is a medium strength, on these bolts here. So just a drop or two on the threads is all you need. And remember, we clean these threads out with the chaser so they're nice and clean. You just rip these in with the gun. Okay, now we're going to take it to 18 foot-pounds, and I'm using my new Eastwood torque wrench, so make sure to check these out. They're nice. Okay, time to install a new timing set. I decided to go with the Cloys C-3220, and this is just an LS2 style. It's like 30 bucks, and it's gonna work perfectly fine for this build. Notice I put a paint mark on the crank gear right here, and it's at the 12 o'clock position, okay? Okay, so here's the new set, new chain, new wheel, and notice I put a pink paint mark dot right here as well. So we have to line this up. So this guy will be at 6 o'clock, this will be at 12 o'clock, and that's pretty much it. So looks like it's lined up here. I'm just gonna spin the cam a little bit. One thing before we assemble this, I'm just gonna put a little bit of assembly lube right here, because this is the thrust on this surface here. So just a little bit of lube there. Alright, that looks pretty lined up there. And by the way, I'm using Loctite 242 on these bolts as well. Let's wrap them in a little bit. Alright, before we torque these, let's just get a good look to make sure we are lined up. And we are. So let me just get a view of this. Alright, and if you want to get crazy, you can roll the motor over and just make sure everything's cool. Crank operates at half speed, so you can see the crank went around once, but the cam only. Okay, so we're just looking dot to dot here. That's our timing. It's perfectly timed. One is at TDC now. So now we can go ahead and torque these to 26 foot-pounds. Okay, we have 26 foot-pounds, and I hope this guy doesn't spin on me. Okay, one more thing to keep in mind is the camshaft end play, so in and out. I'm not going to put a dial indicator on this, but what you want, hear that clunking back and forth? Okay, that's just you obviously want a little bit of play there, because that's what it's supposed to do. I think like around 10 thousandths is what they recommend, but I'm not going to check that. That looks and feels good to me, so let's just continue on. Okay, next up I'm going to install a brand new oil pump. It's a Melling M295. This is standard pressure, standard volume, and it's just a basic stock replacement. So we're going to bolt it on, and then we're going to have to center it. Okay, and some guys don't center it, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. Will it slip over this? Yes, it will. Okay, good. And I got it upside down. All right, so let's go ahead and line this guy up somehow here. Get the gears on. Okay, so you can see that this guy kind of wiggles around, right? So what a lot of guys do is remove this front cover and the rotors and then put feeler gauges and center this guy up. I might as well do that. So what we'll do is we will put these down hand tight and then remove the front plate, okay? Alright, so here's the plate. We'll just remove that. Alright, there's no markings on these rotor gears, but just go ahead and keep everything the same. Alright, so we'll just take off the two rotors like that. Alright, so what we're going to try to do is center this cover to this gear. Okay, so we'll just stick some feeler gauges in here. So let's loosen this back up. Okay, so we're loose and we're just going to center it up here, okay? Okay, so I have 3 feeler gauge sets and I'm going to try to select 3 of the same feeler gauges. Let's see here. Let's start with, like, I don't know, a 2 thou. And 3 of them should be enough. This is going to get a little tricky here. Okay, here's another 2 thou. Okay, we'll put that there. All right, and here's a third 2 thou. Okay, so we have all of them in place and it's still loose. So what I'll do is I'll go to 3 thou. Okay, we'll have to switch all these feeler gauges out for a 3 thou. Alright, we got 3 thou, and there is no movement in these. Okay, so those are all spaced at 3 thou. So I'll go ahead and tighten these. Okay, so those are all semi-tight. Okay, I got some drag on that one. I got some drag on that one. I got some drag on that one. So if I look, there's a nice even gap all the way around this whole thing. Okay? Okay, so 18 foot-pounds. Okay, we'll put our rotor gears back in. Okay, so that's back in there. Alright, let's go ahead and put our front plate back on. Okay, so these are M6 bolts here, and there's no torque value that I found, but in past applications where fasteners going into aluminum like this for an M6, 7 foot-pounds is pretty good. Okay, so these, some people align the front cover too, but you can see that these are countersunk screws, so they'll self-locate this plate. But you want to make sure, you know, if you had bolts like the stock one, then you're going to want to probably align that as well. Okay, so using one of the smaller Eastwood torque wrenches to hit 7 foot-pounds or 84 inch-pounds. And I'll just go around and torque these. Okay, let's remove the timing seal here. Okay, that was pretty simple, so I'll have to clean this up a little bit. I vapor blasted this. I'll probably put it back in the machine and touch that up. Okay, so we have our cover, we have our new gasket. We'll go ahead and line that up. Okay, I'll get a few bolts started. Alright, we'll do 3 bolts. Let me just run these in a little bit. Okay, so you can see it's a little loosey-goosey right now, right? We need to make the diameter of this crank snout to the bore of the cover concentric, okay? So what I've done is I 3D printed this little piece here, okay? And it was off a little bit, so you know, I printed a bunch of these to sneak up on the dimension, because I mean 3D printed parts are pretty accurate, but they're not super accurate. So what I did on the center here is I had to sand a little bit, and on the exterior I put a piece of masking tape in 3 places, and what that does is it just gives me a nice fit between the crank and the cover here. So watch this, I'll slide this guy on. You can see it's nice and snug, and that locates it concentrically, right? This is concentric now. It still wobbles this way, so just like with the rear cover, if you put a level across here on the pan rails of the block, all we got to do is line this cover up, okay? And it rocks back and forth, and it looks really close right there. I mean, that's pretty level. So what I'll do is I'll wrap the bolts in. Alright, so now those are a little snug, and if I push down on here, it is completely level with the pan rails, okay? So now we can put the rest of the bolts in. So dude, I'm loving my 3D printer. It's $300, works great, make all kinds of stuff. And I should have put a couple features in here to pry this out. I made the walls really thin. I'm actually cracking it right now. That's alright. I just wanted to print it fast because I printed like 3 or 4 of these in a day. It takes about an hour to print this. I'm using my finger as leverage here because I don't want to damage the cover. Yeah, this thing's a one-time use, huh? And I can make this thing completely solid with the printer, you know, with the settings. So I only did like 5% fill. So I'll show you the inside of this thing once I get it off. Not perfect, but hey, this tool is like $50, you know, if you buy it on Amazon or whatever. I'll put the link down. Come on. Alright. So yeah, let's take a look on the inside here. See, it's pretty much hollow. It does like this weird gyroid shape. But yeah, it's only like 5% filled. But hey, it worked. It did the job. Alright, so here's the new seal. What I did is I applied oil to these two lips on the inside. And obviously you can see that this side has a nice counter bore, so this side is what faces the engine. So the outside is dry. So I'll go ahead and put that guy on there like so. And I will use my tool here. I'll get a block of wood and we'll start popping it in. Should have made this tool a little longer, but that's okay. Alright, so that guy's all the way flush, and I think that's as far as it needs to go. So, okay, so this guy's all the way in. What I'm going to do is make sure there's oil on the seal lip, and there is. And then also I'll put a little oil on this guy here, and that's just going to help the the pulley, the balancer, to slide right on. Okay, time to torque these to 18 foot-pounds. So let's give this a torque here. Okay, here's my harmonic balancer that we're going to put on in a second here. I vapor blasted this and then just painted it with engine paint. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down some tin foil on my gas barbecue grill and just set this guy on here, leave the grill on low and basically heat this guy up so it'll expand the center, and then when it's smoking hot we'll just slide it right on to the engine, and the press fit is not an issue when you heat one part and it expands. To monitor the temp, I'll be using my IR gun, and I just basically point it. Right now it's at 65 degrees, and we'll just crank it up to a certain temperature so it slides right on. And I'll note the temperature once that's all done. Alright, so the balancer is on the grill, and it is approaching the temperature we need. Alright, so what I have is some leather gloves and a towel, and what I'm going to do is carry it in here, and we're just going to slide it right on, put in our bolt, and just wrap it in really tight with a 1/2 inch impact. So let me go ahead and grab that, and let's see how this works. Alright guys, this is nice and hot. Let's just go ahead and... Alright, that's all the way in. Here's our bolt. Okay, that's tight. And before I put the rag on, alright, this guy is 300 degrees. Okay? And now we'll just put a cold, wet rag on here. And we'll just try to get some heat out of here. Okay, but that's it. It's on there, man. So the temperature is dropping nicely, so I'll just let that chill. Okay, so that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to be installing new lifters, new head gaskets, and bolting on the heads.